All right, what is going on, everybody? How are you doing? Welcome to another episode of Talking Buffalo, your weekday daily driver for Buffalo Sports Talk and more. My name is Patrick Moran. Thank you to everyone out there, as always, whether you're listening to the show, whether you're watching it, however you consume Talking Buffalo. I truly appreciate you guys very, very, very much. Today's sponsor, as always, Sunny Reds, 1841 Abbott Road, just down the street from Highmark Stadium. 50-cent wings on Wednesday night. Now they got dollar chicken tendies on Thursday. Those are the bomb, by the way. Karaoke every other Saturday. One of the coolest spots in town. If you have not been there, make sure that you stop by. You will not regret it. This is holy shit. What a change from what this was going to be maybe an hour or so ago until the time I'm actually hit the record button here, which by the way is incredibly late. In fact, quite literally, it's 11:59, about to be midnight. So we're recording this at midnight. The plan all along for this episode, which in podcast form drops on Wednesday, is I was going to record late at 10 p.m., hoping to do live, but did not think I was going to be able to do it live. But that was going to be the plan all along. I got caught up in work. I think most of you know this, with the exception of maybe Joe Marino. I think everybody else who's a content creator, at least that I know personally on the Bills side for sure, we all have jobs to some extent anyway. So I was working and planned on having a late Tuesday night show. Typically during the year, I record with Matt Warren from SB Nation late Tuesday mornings, and we bang that out by lunchtime, and the next episode for Wednesday is good to go. However, this being the start of Buffalo Bills and NFL free agency, you can't do something early because things happen. And guess what? They certainly did with the Buffalo Bills late on Tuesday night. But anyway, I ended up getting caught up at work, and here I am. It is now literally midnight, and I'm just getting an opportunity in part two because I started frantically putting some notes and thoughts together for this show because at 9:22 p.m. tonight being Tuesday night, Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, I'm not sure who was first, Jordan Schultz, they all pretty much came at the same time, but a bombshell coming out of One Bills Drive. Joey Bosa signs a 1-year, $12.6 million contract with the Buffalo Bills. $12 million of that guaranteed. I got home, started doing a little bit of research before I jumped on this microphone and this camera, and I looked up The Athletic. The Athletic has been throughout this whole free agency period a website that I put a great deal of stock in, talented staff there. Anyway, they had him 34th, Bosa, on their top 158th among edge rushers. This is, like I said, this is a big swing, a bombshell. I got some thoughts on this. We're going to talk a little bit about Ty Johnson re-signing with the Buffalo Bills, which up until 9:22 p.m., I thought was going to be the biggest Bills news of the day. Spoiler alert, I love the re-signing, but I was not very happy thinking that that was going to be the biggest news of the day for the Buffalo Bills. An uneventful day for the Bills until late at night. Again, 9:22 p.m. I'll say this too. This is not going to be a very long episode. I'm going to offer you my thoughts, my reactions, which quite literally, as you can tell already, are real-time reactions. I haven't had much of an opportunity to process a lot of this because I'm already recording. Anyway, tomorrow's show, I will have Matt Warren on with me from SB Nation, and we'll break down Joey Bosa much more thoroughly, and I'm sure Matt will have a lot to say about that as well. On the video side, if you're listening to this sometime early Wednesday, on the video side, Matt Warren, we will be live at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, and then the audio podcast will drop overnight into Thursday morning. But anyway, again, Joe Bosa, 1 year, $12.6 million deal with the Bills, 12 of it guaranteed. I saw that Mike Silver reported that two other teams were in on Bosa, but the offers were significantly less. 10 million Frisco offered. Well, actually, it was a little bit less than 10 million, the report said. And then Mike Silver tweeted that Miami also was in, but their offer was for a little less than 8. It's a big number, 12.6 million. I mean, it's not pennies. But that said, the first thing I did when I got home and went into my office and jumped on the computer is I went to Over the Cap because I wanted to know, even if it's just for 1 year, which it is, where that salary would slot among other edge rushers around the league. And as I record this, per Over the Cap, Bosa's number with the Bills puts him 27th among the highest paid edge rushers in terms of annual salary in the NFL. It's not really that bad. I mean, it's a big number, but with the 1 year contract, it's really not that bad. Of course, the big thing with Joe Bosa that makes this a risk, which let me backtrack for a little bit too. I want to be clear about this. For the most part, I really love this move. There's a couple things I don't love about this move, but I don't want to be a hypocrite. I talked quite literally on the show yesterday about having Tyler Dunn with me at Sunny Reds when him and Joe Biscaglia were my guests for episode 1000 about a week or so ago. And Tyler, I asked both those guys, like, what do you think the Bills need to do in free agency? And without naming any specific players, Tyler just said, when it comes to the Bills going forward, it's time for them to start taking chances on guys who have had maturity issues, taking chances on guys who have had some character issues, especially when they were younger. In some cases, maybe some guys who have been banged up and injured, but have a really high upside. Those are the kind of players that put great teams sometimes over the top. So Tyler hit on that. Joe from Queens has talked about that a lot. I remember him a couple weeks on the Go show saying, I want some assholes on this team. And that's not to say Joey Bosa is an asshole. I'm just saying that's what Joe said, and I agreed with him. So I don't want to be a hypocrite. I can't sit there and say, well, Brandon Beane needs to start taking some chances. All these high character guys, which is not a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. But all these clean players, stuff like that, get some badass in that room. And I've been saying that. And now the Bills go and take a big risk in a lot of ways anyway, a big risk. And I don't want to be a hypocrite and sit there and blast Brandon Beane for not taking chances. And then in the same vein, blast Brandon Beane because he just took a pretty big chance. The injuries make this it's a high risk, high reward. And those aren't just words. It's reality. This is a high risk move because there's a lot of risk. That means there's a great chance that this doesn't work out the way they hope. Conversely, it's a high reward. If it does work out, like I said, Joey Bosa was the 34th best free agent on The Athletic. If it works out and he plays the way he did a handful of years ago, he plays to the best of his abilities and he stays healthy, this could be an absolute positive steal for the Buffalo Bills. No doubt about it. So again, high risk, high reward. The injuries are a very, very big factor. He's played just 28 games over his last 3 seasons. And again, some of this stuff I'm kind of putting together here on the fly just to have a little bit. This is a real-time reaction show. Tomorrow's show with Matt Moran, our thoughts, our takes, we'll have some time to process it. It'll be a lot more measured, a lot more maybe analytically driven as well. So right now, this is just some straight up real-time thoughts. That's what this shit is right now. But anyway, 28 games in 3 seasons. That's all he's played. He's had multiple stints on the IR. I did a little bit of quick research. Again, it's all I had time to do. It's a little bit of quick research. But anyway, back in 2022, he had a grade 3 groin tear, missed 12 games. Next year, 2023, he had a grade 1 pedal foot sprain, which, by the way, I never even fucking heard of a pedal foot sprain. And I've seen it multiple times with Joe Bosa. So I'm sure I'll learn a lot more about that. Anyway, he had a grade 1 pedal foot sprain in 2023, and he missed 7 games. This past season, missed 3 games. He had a back pull, he had a hip bruise, so he played in 14 out of 17 games. If you want to go back a little further than that, he also missed 2 games with a concussion back in 2020. And then in 2018, he also missed 9 games with a pedal foot bruise. What the hell is even a pedal fruit? Pedal fruit? A pedal foot bruise. So he's missed a lot of time. All right. And that's what makes this such a high risk move. This past season, 2024, he did play in 14 games and he only had 5 sacks. But I'll tell you what, looking at some of the advanced stats, he was better than what that sounds. And by the way, he also was a Pro Bowler, although we ain't going to put no stock into that shit. He was an alternate. But anyway, the 5 sacks could be misleading. That makes you think he didn't do shit out there. But that's not the case. He was better than that. He played 50% of the snaps this season for the Chargers when he was available to play, which again was 14 games. Maybe one of his best games was actually his last game, the playoff game, their wild card round loss to Houston. In that game, he had 6 pressures and a sack. And I'm going to go and I'm going to watch that game, by the way, at some point over the next few days. But 6 pressures and a sack. So he was a force in that game. And I remember that. He had a good game. So did Poona Ford and a couple others. Just too many other guys made a lot of mistakes and they lost to Houston. But anyway, yeah, 6 pressures and a sack in that playoff loss this year. And then something that kind of surprised me because I think of Joey Bosa and I think of 2 things. I think of the injuries and I think of him being a very good pass rusher when healthy. What I didn't realize when I went to PFF and did some advanced stats searching, he had a 73.7 PFF run defensive grade this year, which, check this out of 135 eligible edges, which means that player played at least 20% of his team snaps for the season. So there were 135 eligible edge rushers. Joe Bosa's 73.7 PFF grade ranked 16th. That is borderline exceptionally good. In terms of, and again, in the moment, real time here right now, in terms of what I love and what I don't love about it. What I love is that it's a gutsy swing by Brandon Beane. And I'm not gonna hate on the guy for taking chances. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna sit here and say, you got to do something, you got to be bold. And then he is, and then I rip him for it. He wasn't my first choice. I'm not gonna sit here and say Joe Bosa wasn't my first choice. I'm also gonna be honest with you. If you are a regular listener or watcher to this show, you've probably heard very little, in fact, maybe nothing about Joe Bosa over the last few weeks. That's because I thought there would be 0 chance that the Bills would be targeting Joe Bosa. I mean, we talked so much about the potential of a Myles Garrett trade when it was still out there, a Max Crosby trade, a Trey Hendrickson trade, which I was going to talk about on this show originally anyway, because I actually talked to a plugged in Bengals content creator and I had some information to share about that. Right up until it happened, I was like, maybe they're still going to swing a trade for Trey Hendrickson. But we talked about those guys. We talked about Josh Sweat. We talked about guys with, like Hassan Reddick, who didn't do shit last year, but still had a lot of talent. I remember talking about DeMarcus Lawrence, a 33-year-old. Maybe he could be a stopgap. Hell, maybe they bring Von Miller back. We talked about a lot of scenarios. We did not talk much, if at all, about Bosa because I just did not consider him a realistic possibility, in part because of the injury history. Just didn't know that Brandon Beane was going to take that kind of chance. I also thought it felt to me anyway, it was going to be a foregone conclusion that he would go to San Francisco and play with his brother. That was my thing. And so again, I didn't waste energy or words and time talking about him for that reason. So I love it. It's a gutsy swing. I'm not going to hit on him for taking a chance. And plus, and this is very important, all right? It's a 1 year deal, okay? It's a 1 year deal. If it don't work out, see you later. Thanks for trying, right? That's it. And I'll tell you this too. You know Brandon Beane's going to have some maneuvering room during the season. Let's just say, and you didn't give up any assets, so you didn't trade anything for Joe Bosa. For the sake of discussion, let's just say Bosa gets to camp early in the year, whatever it may be. He gets a pedal foot again, whatever the hell that even is, or some type of injury, and he's in and out of the lineup. He's hurt. He's not out there at all, or he's out there at all and he's just not effective. He's slowed down by injuries, whatever it may be. No matter what, the Bills could still say, you know what, we need an edge guy. Guess what? There's a trade deadline, and Brandon Beane is not afraid to use it. He has traded for Russell Douglas before the trade deadline. Last year, he traded for Amari Cooper in advance of the trade deadline. So Brandon Beane is not afraid to make in-season trades. There's a 1 year contract, and despite the guaranteed money is the guaranteed money. They're not married to it, is what I'm saying, okay? So in terms of the contract, there's no long-term cap commitment like it was with Von Miller a couple of years ago. A couple of years ago with Von Miller, 6 for 120, it was never really that, but they were pretty much committed to 3 for 60 for sure. That's not the case. So the contract might sound like, oh my God, he got 12.6 million. Yeah, it's a 1 year contract, okay? It's a 1 year contract. And also, let's wait for the details. You know how that works. Let's wait for the actual details to emerge on what the contract looks like. Is there a void year? How much of that is incentive? Although I know most of it, I think, is actually guaranteed. But let's wait to see what the cap hit is before jumping to any conclusions. It's usually not what it appears to be. But it's a 1 year contract, and you can get, again, don't work, see you later. And if it's a disaster and it gets hurt early in the year, you need an edge, go trade for one. That's still very much in play. Also, what I like for the player, it's a true prove it deal. This is a true, legitimate prove it deal for Joe Bosa. He can and he should, and I would think he will be very highly motivated to come to Buffalo this year and have an exceptional season, the best season he's had in 3 or 4 years. He's going to be highly motivated to come here in shape, to be healthy, to stay healthy, to be productive, and put together a great season, because if he does, he will go to free agency or maybe to the Bills, however it plays out after the season, and he'll be 30 years old. He could be in line to go get a 3-year, $60 million contract with the Bills or with somebody else. So there's a lot on the line for him in a 1-year prove it deal. So the player is going to be motivated. I love that about this contract. I also I don't like this all the time. Like Joe from Queens loses his shit all the time. I'm not in love with it. The way Sean McDermott, his marriage to rotating the defensive line. Generally speaking, I don't love that, but in this case, it's a great match. It's a great fit. It's a great marriage for Joe Bosa. Joe Bosa ain't coming to Buffalo and playing 80% of the snaps. He ain't coming there and playing 70% of the snaps. Hell, he might not even see 60% of the snaps. He played 50% last year, by the way, 51 the year before that, 54 the year before that, as he's been banged up. But I can see him coming there playing 35 to 50, 55% of the snaps. And early in the year, you're managing his workload and you want to get him more and more ramped up towards the end of the year. So the rotation here is going to be good. He's not coming here to be the savior. He's not going to play 85% of the snaps. The Bills don't necessarily need him to have a 13, 14 sack season either. So I like, in this case at least, I like the marriage that Sean McDermott has to rotating his guys in and out. He's not going to get overloaded with reps, with work. He's still kind of young. Sometimes it doesn't feel like it because of so many injuries. It feels like he's been in the league for forever. But he's just 29 years old. He'll be turning 30 when the season starts. That's like 6 years younger than Von Miller. So this is by comparison, a much, much younger guy. And again, can he stay healthy? Who the hell knows? That's the risk. That's the gamble. But he's still young. If he can stay healthy, he's got a lot of football ahead of him. And also, the last thing I really love about this, it doesn't stop the Bills from going edge in the draft. As early, I think with the addition of Bosa, I would say they're probably done addressing edge for now because now you got Greg Rizzo, you got Bosa, you got Michael Hoyt, who you signed on day one. That's three. You got AJ Epinesa for the time being. That's four. You got the fifth rounder from last year, Javon Sullivan. So you got five edge guys already. They may add a body or two for bottom of the depth chart. Um, Training camp, battles, whatever. But if they're going to add, it's probably going to be the draft. And what I'm getting at here is having Joe Bosa on a 1-year contract. That don't stop you from going edge in the draft as early as the first round. But what I love about it is now it feels like you don't have to. Like if Michael Hoyt would have been the biggest defensive line signing before the draft, it would have felt like, yo, you got to go get an edge with your first pick. And I don't feel that way now. I don't feel that way anymore. You could go defensive tackle at 30 or move up or move back or whatever you do. But that first pick, it could be an interior defensive lineman now. It could be a cornerback. It could be a wide receiver, a safety. It could be literally whatever they want. It doesn't have to be an edge now. And that makes it easier. All right, I'm going to take a real quick break, come back. A couple things I don't love. Hit on Ty Johnson real quick. And a couple other things like what I think the Bills need and should be looking forward to as we get forward now in free agency. By the way, Wednesday, 4 p.m., the actual league year starts, and these contracts will become official and a lot of others. Be right back. All right, we are back here. I am well past midnight now on Tuesday into Wednesday. Joe Bosa, Bills bombshell, big bombshell. Did not see that coming. Still kind of reacting. We talked about before the break a lot of things that I loved about the deal. What I don't love, again, obviously high risk, high reward. You cannot emphasize the risk part enough. This could be a guy that gets you, it's an unknown. And sometimes having an unknown, you don't want that. And I understand that school of thought because look, Joe Bosa could be a guy who gets you 9 sacks to 13 sacks. Okay. He could be a premier edge in this league, be a stud, but he's also a guy that just as easily can get hurt, major injury, bunch of nagging injuries, and he could end up missing half the season or more. And that makes me more scared that if something happens to Joe Bosa and you got your eggs in his basket to be your guy to get to the quarterback alongside Greg Rizzo, some goes down with him. AJ Epinesa, Michael Hoyt getting a bigger role on this team. That's not something that would excite me. What I don't love about it is he's not the guy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I want it. I told you. We didn't even talk about him because he wasn't the guy that I really wanted. I would have preferred that the Bills struck early on day one. Josh Sweat, I thought, was a perfect fit. And quite frankly, even seeing what he got from Arizona, I wish the Bills would have came at him with that. Maybe even a couple bucks more if that's what it would have taken. Josh Sweat would have been a great addition to his team. That was my first choice. Hassan Reddick, what did he sign? He signed a 1-year, $14 million deal, 12 guaranteed. So the guaranteed money between Hassan Reddick and Joe Bosa is the same. And Reddick got 1 do the math there. 1.4 million more than what Joe Bosa got with the Bills. Quite frankly, I like Hassan Reddick more. He was literally the first free agent to sign like a minute in the free agency on Monday with Tampa Bay. So there were other guys that I preferred. So I don't love it, when it comes to that. But here's my conclusion, folks. He's a 1-year mercenary. He's a 1-year hired gun. That's what it is. He's Leonard Floyd from a few years ago. That's what it is. He's what we hoped Von Miller would be over the past 2 years. Now we're hoping that Joey Bosa will be what we hoped that Von Miller was these past 2 years. I thought Von Miller was pretty good last year, especially early on. The sack totals wasn't there, but he got a lot of pressures, did some good things against the run. Problem with Von Miller was he was healthy and he just didn't play enough. Joe Bosa's the opposite. Can he stay healthy? That's the question now. He's not going to be a consistent week in, week out, complete game wrecker like Myles Garrett would have been, like Max Crosby would have been, like maybe Trey Hendrickson would have been. But what he is he's a hell of a lot better than what's been alongside Greg Rousseau the past couple of years. And if he can stay healthy, I'm good with that risk. And like I said, I'm good with Brandon Beane making this move. I am. Not all, and we'll get to in just a second here things that I'd still like to see, but to get this done relatively early and get a guy with such high upside, I think it's worth the risk. If this would have been a 2 or even especially a 3-year contract, I would feel probably different than I do right now. The fact that it's a 1-year contract where the guy is barely still a top 30 paid edge in the NFL and a guy who's going to be highly motivated to have a big year and go get that bag next year. And all in all, I really like it for the Bills. All right. So before that, and I was not in a good mood, by the way, from most of Tuesday. I woke up in a shitty mood Tuesday morning because I expected the Bills to do more on day one or relatively early on day two, and that didn't happen. And it was frustrating at the time. I'm not a patient person. I'm a knee jerk reactor. You guys all know that. And I woke up and I was not happy. But it became obvious, at least it was until 9:22 p.m., that it was running back day for the Bills. The Bills solidified their running back room by quite literally running it back. They re-signed Ty Johnson, and then they also re-signed, or not re-signed, they signed because he got cut. I think he went to the Bears. They signed Darrynton Evans for what feels like the 10,000th time. In reality, it's his third. But the big one, of course, Ty Johnson. I was concerned as the hours went on. First of all, I thought it might resign before free agency. And as the hours went on, Monday, day one, started getting nervous. Ty Johnson was a guy I really wanted back. And then well into Tuesday, like Tuesday morning, early afternoon, I'm like, shit, man, this dude's going to end up, I'm going to see a tweet from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, and I'm going to see that Ty Johnson signed a 2-year deal with like the Tampa Bay Bucks or some shit that was going to piss me off because I thought it would have been a mistake to let him go. But the Bills didn't. They signed him to a 2-year deal. I think it was about $5 million. So it gets a nice little salary bump from what he earned last year. Again, obviously, I love this move. To me, there's nothing not to love. He's really good. He's reliable. Josh Allen loves him. He calls him the best third down back in football. I don't know about all that, but he's a great freaking third down back. He's an exceptional pass blocker. He made plenty of clutch plays last season. A couple big catches out of the backfield. I still remember him cooking Jalen Ramsey for a big touchdown, or I think he might have gotten down to the goal line in week 2 in Miami. But the fact that he cooked Jalen Ramsey was awesome. He's just a smart, headsy, reliable player. And I don't feel like there's ever a huge drop off when James Cook comes off the field and Ty Johnson goes on there. So now the Bills running back room is literally the same as last year. And I expect it to be run the same way as well. And I'm here for that because the Bills running backs, that room, their running game, them catching the ball out of the backfield, that was a strength for the Bills this past year. That was a significant reason why the Bills offense was historically good. So to get the same guys back, the same cast of characters, and run it for the most part, what I assume to be the same way in a timeshare, I love it. I love it. Now, as what it means for James Cook, maybe I'll have a more in-depth conversation with Matt Moran tomorrow, but I'll just say quickly, it's going to be interesting for sure because I don't think James Cook's role is going to be much bigger than it was last year. But that said, look, too many people are looking at his snap count percentage and assuming his role's not big. Not true. His role was huge, even with those limited snaps last year. Dude ran for 1,000 yards. Dude was solid. He found the end zone 18 times, 16 of them rushing. Tied O.J. Simpson's franchise record. This guy was a beast last year. Put it all together. The vision, the contact balance, the breakout speed when he needed it. So many of you people are just ready to get rid of him because he wants to get paid. It just blows my mind. It truly does. It blows my mind. James Cook was easily the best offensive player on the Buffalo Bills last year, whose name is not Josh Allen. That's just straight up. And it's not, I don't even know that it's close. Now, personally, I think the Bills do nothing this year. Maybe they give him a raise. Give him a raise, give him a salary bump for this year. So you don't have to worry about the potential, because I know a lot of Bills fans are concerned about it. Maybe the Bills are too. If they are, they're not saying it, but maybe they're concerned about a hold in or hold out from James Cook this summer. Maybe giving him a raise, and maybe it even takes you saying, you know what, we'll bump up your salary from 5.2, something like that, to 7.5, 8 for this season. And I'll tell you what, we won't franchise. We agree that we will not franchise tag you after the season. Now you got a happy, well-paid, motivated James Cook in the fold. Now, I know that, especially with Ty Johnson resigning, the trade talk is going to be running wild. And I'm pretty confident that the Bills won't trade James Cook. And I would definitely not trade. You would have to blow me away with an offer right now to trade James Cook. Even though I know right now, as things stand, that he wants to go get money that maybe Brandon Beane doesn't want him to pay. And I know that this could be his last year as a Buffalo Bill. I know that. But guess what? I'm still not trading him. Still not looking to trade him. You know why? Because I'm trying to win a Super Bowl in 2025. And trading James Cook for a third round pick or whatever you're going to get for him, a third and a sixth, whatever it may be, I'm not doing it, because your offense is going to be lesser without James Cook, or with James Cook is going to be better without him. Your offense is going to be lesser. I don't think there's any question about that. Okay. And I know a lot of people like to come at me, and I've given them credit for it too, by the way. Ray Davis, when James Cook got hurt last year, Ray Davis stepped up against the Jets. He had 152 yards from scrimmage. He was great in that game. I'm a Ray Davis guy. I like Ray plenty, but he ain't James Cook, man. He's not. So I ain't looking to trade James Cook because I want to win a Super Bowl this year. If you're of the mindset, hey, go sign Joe Bosa. Let's go get a great corner. Let's make a trade. Let's try to get a defensive tackle who's way better than Quan Jones. Whatever moves you want to make. You want to go trade for Chris Olave. You're doing it because you want to win now. You want to go to Super Bowl. Then you want to turn around and trade James Cook for a draft pick for a rookie who may not be better? No. So I ain't doing that. Is the Bills' offense better without Cook? No. The answer is resoundingly no, it's not. No one can debate that. This offense is a lot better with James Cook. A trade makes sense. I understand that much. You're going to lose Cook potentially after the season for nothing if you don't make a trade now. I get that. I understand that. You get a pick or whatever, and then you draft a running back. Who says that running back's going to be the answer? You already know what James Cook can do for you. And guess what? What he doesn't do, Ty Johnson does. Pass blocking, a lot of third down shit. Ray Davis can help out more as well. James Cook's never going to be, at least not with the Buffalo Bills, he's never going to be that 75 to 80% snap guy, because your boy cannot pass block. And until that changes, and I don't see it changing, it's just the way it's going to be. But I'm all about James Cook. Trading him would be a mistake. Bringing back Ty Johnson, 1 gazillion % the right move. Before we get out of here real quick too, And now, as for day one, again, I'm looking forward to having a guest on tomorrow, Matt, and going over this a little more. I'm not going to rehash my thoughts on Josh Palmer or Michael Hoyt. Go back and listen to yesterday's show. I like them both, especially the Josh Palmer signing. I was very high on that. As far as Hoyt, uh, it's just I like the move. Okay, I get it. I know what the skill set he has, but let's kind of message out there, everyone on social media. Let's chill a little bit on the excitement. How many times I've heard the word freak athlete, a great chess piece, and stuff like that. My take when it comes to players like him, and not just him, but most players that are signing free agency like that is if he was all that, he was such a great chess piece, such a freak athlete. Why the Rams let him walk? Hmm? Who doesn't want freak athletes and great chess pieces on their team? And his contract is modest, and the Rams had plenty of cap space. It's not like they had to say, make a couple really, really tough salary cap related decisions. They just decided to let him go get more money somewhere else, which is cool. And he could be a good player, and he is a good athlete. He is a nice matchup, but come on, the chess piece stuff, the freak athlete, let's chill with that a little bit. He's a serviceable and potentially really solid death piece, and I like it. But to me, instead of saying, a freak athlete or solid, great chess piece, to me, he's like a janitor. Like he's a jack of all trades, but kind of like a master of none. All right. I like the signing, and I like it a hell of a lot better now, more because Joe Bosa's here and they can move him around and he's going to have a death roll as opposed to him potentially paying, I don't know, 60, 65% of the snaps. As for what's left for Buffalo, and who knows, by the time I was going to say I'll talk to Matt tomorrow, but maybe by the time Matt and I get together at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, maybe some of these are addressed, maybe even just one of them. No one's talking about corner, at least not enough. I don't think Kyrie Elam or Jamarcus Ingram's starting in 2025. So that's got to be addressed. All right. Hearing a lot about Asante Samuel Jr., and that would be, you want to talk about another risk? There's a risk right there. This is a guy who's had injury problems, and he's also a guy who can't tackle worse shit either. But on the other hand, he's a really good playmaker when he's good. And he's another Los Angeles Charger, another LA guy. So who knows? It seems like the Bills are only interested in LA people right now. But assuming that don't happen with Samuel at this point, with all the best cornerbacks pretty much, gone, um, a short-term vet, an early rookie draft pick, it kind of feels like what I'm good with. I wouldn't hate. He's still out there. As far as I know, as I'm recording this, Rasul Douglas is still out there. Maybe the Bills bring him back. And at this point, especially if you're going to draft a corner in the first or second round, I'd be good with that. I'd be really good with that, actually. Defensive tackle. I'm not happy that it looks like we're getting another year of DaQuan Jones starting. I'm just keeping it real with everyone, being honest about my opinions here. 33-year-old DaQuan Jones last year. What makes me think 34-year-old DaQuan Jones this year is going to be better? And I thought he was very pedestrian last year. Again, I'm just shooting my honest opinions here. But even him aside, there are only 3 defensive tackles right now on this roster. I think Ed Oliver, Dwayne Carter as well. They need to add at least 1, if not 2 vets. And it's pretty frustrating to see a lot of these veterans over the first 2 days signing with other teams. I really wanted the Bills. I was really hoping that they would go big by getting a defensive tackle and an edge. And we got half of that. But no, I was kind of disappointed when Jonathan Allen signed with Minnesota on Tuesday morning. But to be honest with you, I saw that contract. It's like 2 years of pretty big cap hits and guarantee money. So I kind of fell off that take a little bit. But anyway, they got to do something. Now, I do think pick number 30 or whatever they do with their first pick in the first round, I think it's squarely on the radar at defensive tackle. You go get a guy with your first pick, you start DaQuan Jones early on, and you let the other guy get more and more development, and hopefully eventually he takes over. Safety is another position. I'm low-key kind of annoyed, to be honest with you. The Bills have not addressed safety, and I think it's a bigger need than people think, because I'm going to tell you, I'm not the least bit sold on both Rapp and Bishop starting. I like the idea of one of them a lot more than I like the idea of both of them. Anyway, before the Bosa news broke, probably the most annoyed I got all of Tuesday was when I saw that Justin Reed signed a 3-year deal with the Saints at like 10 or $11 million per year. Which P.S. How the fuck did the Saints keep getting money to sign these guys to big deals? There's been 3 of them now in 2 days. This team's supposed to be like a gazillion dollars over the cap. Yet they're still signing guys to 10, $12 million a year contracts. It's craziness to me. Anyway, that pissed me off, man. I really thought Justin Reed, wasn't talking about it much, but man, oh man, what a fit he would have been in that secondary for the Buffalo Bills. I've said it. I'm going to continue to say it. I don't count Teron Johnson because to me, he's almost like a linebacker the way the Bills play. I love Christian Benford. He's a stud. He's elite. And after that, this Bills secondary ain't really much to write about. And I was hoping that they would really get one of these talented safeties in free agency and try to upgrade there, but they didn't. And by the way, please don't resign DeMar Hamlin. I don't want to get into that. Just don't do it, Brandon. I really want to see the Bills do something at free safety. And there's like 2 guys out there that still intrigue me. Marcus Williams of the Ravens. He had a bad year last year, but he's a good safety. I wouldn't mind him. The old pro, I say old now at this point, Justin Simmons. Either of those guys could be a good addition. And then lastly, wide receiver. But I'll tell you, I don't know about this, man. I think they may be set for 2025. I originally said on Tuesday earlier, maybe you bring Amari Cooper back. Once DeAndre Hopkins signed with Baltimore and got like $5.5 million, I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Cooper's market is way lower than a lot of the sites that are saying, 10, 12, 14 million a year. Like Cooper might only get 6, 7 million, something like that. I'm like, I wouldn't mind the Bills doing that. I still don't. But someone pointed this out. Their top 4 receivers right now, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Curtis Samuel, Josh Palmer, ain't no special teams value there. Can you have 5 receivers on your roster and none of them play special teams? Because that would be the case if you sign Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper ain't playing no special teams. You go get you draft a guy early, which still could happen. He ain't playing special teams. You go swing a big trade for Chris Olave. Is he playing special teams? No. I mean, of course, you could carry 6 receivers instead of 5, but to have your top 5 receivers who don't play special teams kind of feels unheard of. I'm sure it's not, but I feel like if they had a guy, it's going to be someone who can play special teams, which, by the way, I still think letting Matt Collins go to New England was pretty fucking stupid. I've been very open about that, especially as I talk about, needing some value at wide receiver, with special teams as well. So I'm not sure what they do both with either free agency or the draft. I hope it's nothing substantially financial because I'd rather at this point spend decent money at defensive tackle or corner or safety if there's someone out there worth spending the money on as opposed to another wide receiver. At this point, I think the Bills' offense is good enough to run it back. Talked about a lot on this show. Keon Coleman, Dalton Kincaid, taking a step, stepping up next year. That's what makes your offense stay as good as it was. That's what makes being a historically good offense sustainable. It's Keon Coleman, it's Dalton Kincaid being healthy and both stepping up. Anyway, a ton to talk about. Tomorrow's show, again, on the video side, live, 9 p.m. on Wednesday, Matt Moran from SB Nation. Hopefully, we'll have even more new stuff to talk about with the Bills, but I'll get Matt's thoughts on Bosa, the offense as it stands right now, anything the Bills do. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. On the video side, too, I know the algorithm's going to be all fucked up here. I usually get this video out at 9 or 10 p.m., and it's not even going out until like 7 a.m. on Wednesday morning. So I don't care about the views. I just wanted to make sure I had a video up. But anyway, on the audio side, as always, thank you. And I'll be back. Matt Warren joins me tomorrow.